Ladies and gentlemen, or should I say, curious minds hiding behind comfortable lies. Ever had that strange feeling that someone, somewhere, knows more about you than you remember about yourself? Imagine digging into your past old memories, forgotten mistakes, secrets you thought were buried forever, and suddenly powerful eyes start watching. Not friends, not family, but shadows of power. Organizations that live between truth and conspiracy. Tonight we step into a question that sounds insane until it doesn't. What if something in your past was discovered by the Freemasons? Something so unusual, so disturbing, that it quietly placed your name onto a hidden watch list of the Central Intelligence Agency. Funny thing about secrets. The deeper you bury them, the louder they scream when someone starts digging. And the powerful. Oh, they love digging, not for gold, but for people. People with strange histories, strange talents, strange destinies. So tonight, we're not just talking about conspiracies.
We're talking about you.
Your past. Your forgotten choices. And the terrifying possibility that somewhere in the shadows, a file exists with your name on it, waiting to be opened. Because sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. It gets investigated. Some people believe the past is just a collection of memories, small moments that slowly fade away as time moves forward. But what if the past is more like a hidden record, something that never truly disappears? Imagine that every decision, every strange coincidence, every unusual ability you showed as a child quietly left a mark somewhere. Not just in your mind, but in systems and circles that observe the world in ways ordinary people rarely understand. Throughout history, powerful, secretive societies have always been fascinated by individuals who seem different, individuals whose past contains patterns that don't easily fit into normal explanations. One of the most talked about groups connected with mysterious knowledge and secret traditions is the Freemasons. For centuries, the Freemasons have been surrounded by rumors, symbolism, and whispers about hidden knowledge. Officially, they describe themselves as a fraternal organization focused on moral development, philosophy, and brotherhood. But the mystery surrounding them has always fueled speculation that their networks might reach much deeper into history and society than most people realize. Their traditions are built around symbols, observation, and the idea that knowledge about human nature and hidden truths is carefully protected and passed down only to those who are ready to understand it. Because of that reputation, many people believe that such organizations might pay attention to individuals whose past reveals unusual characteristics. Think about childhood for a moment. Some people display strange patterns early in life. They might have extraordinary intuition, an unusual ability to read people, or experiences that seem difficult to explain logically. Sometimes these traits appear through odd coincidences, intense curiosity about complex ideas, or an awareness that feels far beyond their age. In normal circumstances, society simply calls these things personality traits or talents. But within the world of secret traditions and hidden societies, such patterns might be seen as signals, clues that someone could possess a mind capable of understanding deeper systems of knowledge. The idea behind secret orders has always revolved around observation. Not the obvious kind of watching, but quiet attention to how people think, how they react to challenges, and how their past shapes their decisions. A person's history can reveal more than their present behavior. Patterns of resilience, moments of rebellion against authority, or the ability to see connections others miss can make someone stand out. To groups that value hidden wisdom, those traits can be incredibly interesting. There are also stories that certain symbolic traditions believe human life moves through stages that reveal character. According to these ideas, the past is like a coded message. Every hardship, every strange opportunity, Every mysterious encounter contributes to a pattern that can be interpreted by those trained to look for meaning beneath the surface. Someone who grew up facing unusual challenges or constantly questioning reality might appear different from the crowd, not because they are extraordinary in an obvious way, but because their experiences shaped a mind that refuses to think in simple terms. Because secretive organizations value loyalty, discipline, and the ability to see beyond illusions. They are often imagined as paying close attention to people who naturally question the world around them. A person who always looks deeper into events, who notices symbols, patterns, and contradictions in everyday life, might seem like someone capable of understanding complex philosophical systems. From that perspective, a person's past becomes more than just history. It becomes evidence of potential. In many conspiracy discussions and mysterious narratives, people suggest that powerful networks sometimes identify individuals long before those individuals realize their own importance. Childhood experiences, unusual encounters, and moments of instinctive insight are often interpreted as signs that someone may one day step into a larger role in understanding hidden structures of influence. Whether these stories are truth, exaggeration, or pure imagination, they continue to fascinate people because they challenge the comfortable belief that our past is forgotten and irrelevant. The most unsettling part of this idea is the possibility that someone else might interpret your life differently than you do. While you remember events simply as personal memories, others might see patterns forming across years. A strange talent for persuasion, an ability to stay calm during chaos, or a habit of questioning authority could all be pieces of a larger psychological puzzle. In that way, the past becomes something like a silent biography, written not just by experiences, but by reactions to those experiences. This perspective suggests that hidden secrets are not always dramatic events or shocking discoveries. Sometimes they are subtle characteristics that slowly reveal themselves through time. Small decisions, unexpected abilities, and the courage to think independently can create a story, when viewed from a certain perspective, looks very different from an ordinary life. In circles that value observation and symbolic meaning, those patterns can appear almost like signals waiting to be interpreted. Life often feels random on the surface. People wake up, go through routines, meet new faces, face challenges, and move forward without thinking much about the deeper structure behind events. But sometimes, when someone pauses long enough to look back at their own life, strange patterns begin to appear. Moments that once felt like coincidences start to line up in ways that feel almost deliberate. Certain opportunities arrive at unusual times. Specific types of people repeatedly enter your life, and situations seem to test the same parts of your character again and again. These repeating patterns can create the unsettling feeling that something larger might be observing or guiding the direction of your experiences. Some individuals notice that they are constantly drawn toward knowledge that others ignore. While many people focus only on everyday life, a few seem naturally curious about hidden systems, complex ideas, and the deeper psychology behind human behavior. This kind of curiosity can begin at a young age, appearing as a fascination with mysteries, secret histories, or the motivations behind powerful institutions. Over time, that curiosity grows into a habit of questioning everything, from social structures to the way information flows through society. A mind that constantly searches for meaning beneath the surface begins to stand out, not because it is loud or rebellious, but because it refuses to accept simple explanations. Patterns in life are not always positive or comfortable. Some people experience repeated moments where they feel tested by unusual circumstances. Situations that demand quick thinking, emotional control, or strong intuition appear again and again. These events might involve being placed in positions where decisions affect others, or moments where reading a person's intentions becomes extremely important. When these experiences accumulate, they shape someone into a person who reacts differently than the average individual. Instead of panic or confusion, there is a sense of calm observation, almost as if the mind has been trained through repeated exposure to unpredictable challenges. Another mysterious pattern people sometimes notice is the constant appearance of the same themes in different forms. For example, someone may repeatedly encounter symbols, ideas, or conversations related to secrecy, power, and influence. They might meet people connected to unusual professions, intelligence work, psychology, or strategic decision-making. At first, these meetings seem like simple chance encounters. But when the same types of discussions and opportunities keep appearing across many years, it begins to feel as if life is subtly pushing someone toward a particular direction. Human psychology naturally tries to find meaning in repetition. When events mirror each other across time, the brain begins to connect them into a narrative. A person may begin to wonder why certain paths keep opening while others close unexpectedly. Why some doors appear at exactly the right moment while others disappear before they can even be approached. This feeling can create the impression that life is functioning like a puzzle, where every experience adds another piece to a picture that is slowly becoming clearer. In stories about hidden networks and powerful organizations, these patterns are often interpreted as signals that someone has qualities that make them noticeable. Intelligence, emotional awareness, resilience under pressure, and the ability to analyze complex situations are all traits that can develop naturally through unusual life experiences. Someone who repeatedly faces challenges requiring strategy and calm judgment may unknowingly train their mind in ways that resemble the skills valued in fields like intelligence analysis or psychological profiling. It is also possible that the pattern exists only in perception. The human mind is powerful at creating meaning from randomness. What appears to be a carefully arranged sequence of events might simply be the natural unpredictability of life. Yet the feeling remains powerful because the experiences themselves are real. The repeated sense of being guided toward certain ideas or environments can feel impossible to ignore, especially when the connections stretch across many years. Sometimes people describe moments where they suddenly realize how many strange coincidences led them to where they are today. A conversation years ago that influenced a major decision, a book that changed their thinking, or an unexpected meeting that opened a new path. When all these moments are viewed together, they create the impression that life is not as chaotic as it seems. Instead, it feels structured, as if invisible threads are quietly connecting past experiences with present circumstances. Those threads can make someone question whether their journey has been entirely accidental. A life filled with repeating tests, unusual encounters, and constant curiosity about hidden systems can make a person appear different from the crowd. Whether these patterns are the result of destiny, coincidence, or simply a mind that notices details others ignore, they shape an individual into someone who thinks deeply about the world. And in a world where powerful institutions study human behavior carefully, a person whose life shows consistent patterns of observation, curiosity, and resilience can begin to attract quiet attention from places they may never see directly. Power has always relied on information. Throughout history, governments, secret societies, and intelligence networks have understood that knowledge about people can be more valuable than money or weapons. The ability to identify individuals with unusual abilities, strong influence over others, or unpredictable thinking has often been considered a strategic advantage. Because of this, powerful groups tend to observe not only events and threats, but also the individuals who might one day shape those events. The concept of monitoring unusual individuals is rooted in the idea that certain personalities can have a far greater impact on society than ordinary citizens. Human history provides many examples where a single person changed the direction of entire nations. Charismatic leaders, brilliant strategists, inventors, and thinkers have often emerged from unexpected backgrounds. At first they appear ordinary, sometimes even ignored by society, but over time their ideas or actions begin to influence large numbers of people. For organizations responsible for national security and long-term strategy, identifying such individuals early can be extremely important. Observing them does not always mean viewing them as a threat. Sometimes it simply means understanding their potential before that potential grows into something unpredictable. One reason powerful institutions pay attention to unusual individuals is psychological unpredictability. People who think differently from the majority often challenge established systems. They question authority, explore unconventional ideas, and resist social pressure to conform. While this kind of thinking can lead to innovation and progress, it can also disrupt stability. From the perspective of intelligence agencies or strategic networks, unpredictability is something that must be understood. Observing such personalities allows analysts to learn how they think, how they influence others, and how their decisions might affect larger social structures. Another factor that attracts attention is influence. Some individuals possess a natural ability to inspire or persuade others. They may not hold official power, but their words and ideas can spread quickly through communities, online networks, or cultural movements. In the modern world, influence can grow faster than ever before. A person with strong communication skills and unusual ideas can gain a following in a short period of time. Organizations responsible for monitoring social dynamics often track these emerging voices to understand whether their influence could shape public opinion, political discussions, or ideological movements. Intelligence communities around the world have long studied patterns in human behavior. Analysts examine how certain personalities react under pressure, how they adapt to complex situations, and how they respond when given responsibility or authority. Individuals who display strong strategic thinking, emotional control, and the ability to analyze complex problems can appear particularly interesting in these observations. Such qualities are valuable in many fields, from leadership to intelligence analysis. Monitoring these traits does not necessarily imply suspicion. Sometimes it simply reflects an effort to understand where exceptional abilities might appear. The digital age has made observation easier and more complicated at the same time. People now leave large amounts of information through social media, online discussions, and digital communication. Patterns of interest, belief systems, and behavioral habits can be studied through publicly available data. For institutions focused on security and strategic awareness, this environment creates an opportunity to observe emerging trends and personalities. Individuals who consistently discuss complex geopolitical issues, hidden systems of power, or unconventional philosophies may stand out during these observations because their perspectives differ significantly from mainstream conversations. There is also the question of potential risk. Throughout history, many individuals who challenged powerful systems were initially ignored until their ideas gained momentum. By the time their influence became visible, their movements had already attracted large numbers of supporters. Modern institutions attempt to avoid such surprises by studying individuals whose ideas or actions show signs of unusual impact. Monitoring them allows analysts to understand their motivations and determine whether their influence might lead to constructive change or disruptive consequences. Curiosity about hidden structures can also draw attention. People who actively research secret networks, intelligence operations, and historical conspiracies often demonstrate a mindset that seeks deeper explanations for events. While curiosity alone is not unusual, persistent investigation into sensitive subjects can sometimes attract quiet observation from organizations that prefer to keep certain information controlled or misunderstood from their perspective. Understanding who is asking questions and why they are asking them becomes part of maintaining awareness. Unusual individuals often share certain traits: strong independence of thought, resilience during adversity, and a tendency to analyze patterns others overlook. These characteristics can create the impression that someone possesses a mind capable of navigating complex systems of influence. In strategic environments where decision-making and information analysis are critical, such personalities naturally attract interest. Monitoring them becomes a way of learning how rare psychological profiles develop and how they might shape future events. The idea that powerful groups observe individuals is not always dramatic or conspiratorial. In many cases, it is simply part of how institutions manage information and anticipate change. Societies are constantly evolving, and the people who drive that evolution are rarely predictable. By studying unusual minds and influential personalities, organizations attempt to understand the forces that could transform the political, cultural, or technological landscape in the years ahead. In the modern world, information has become one of the most powerful tools any organization can possess. Governments and intelligence agencies rely heavily on collecting and analyzing data in order to understand potential risks, emerging trends, and individuals who may influence future events. One of the organizations most commonly associated with this type of activity is the Central Intelligence Agency. Known primarily for its role in gathering foreign intelligence and protecting national interests, the agency has long been surrounded by speculation about how it identifies and monitors people who might become important to national security. The concept of a watch list is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it as a secret list of dangerous individuals, criminals, or spies. In reality, intelligence monitoring can involve many different categories of observation. A watch list can include people connected to suspicious activities, individuals who interact with certain networks, or even personalities whose behavior patterns suggest they might influence sensitive areas of society. These lists are usually part of larger analytical systems designed to track information, rather than simply target individuals without context. The process typically begins with data. Intelligence agencies collect enormous amounts of information from various sources. This includes public records, communication patterns, travel history, financial transactions, and open-source intelligence gathered from media and online platforms. Analysts study this data to identify unusual patterns. For example, if a person repeatedly appears in discussions related to sensitive topics, communicates with individuals already under observation, or demonstrates behavior that intersects with security concerns, their name might appear in analytical reports. Modern intelligence systems rely heavily on pattern recognition. Advanced algorithms and human analysts work together to examine connections between people, organizations, and activities. When certain combinations of patterns appear repeatedly, analysts may flag them for further review. This does not automatically mean that someone is considered dangerous. Often it simply indicates that the person's behavior intersects with topics or networks that intelligence agencies monitor closely. Another factor that can place someone under observation is association. Intelligence agencies frequently track networks rather than individuals alone. If a person communicates frequently with people already being investigated or travels to locations connected with ongoing intelligence operations, their name may appear within analytical databases. The purpose is not necessarily to accuse the person of wrongdoing, but to understand how information and relationships move across different social circles. The global nature of modern communication has made these systems far more complex than in the past. People now interact with individuals from different countries instantly through digital platforms. Ideas spread quickly, and discussions about sensitive political or strategic topics can involve participants from multiple regions. Intelligence organizations analyze these conversations to identify whether certain narratives or movements might influence public opinion or international relations. Individuals who actively engage in these discussions may appear within broader analytical models used to understand how information spreads. Psychological profiling can also play a role in intelligence observation. Analysts sometimes study the behavior patterns of individuals who demonstrate strong interest in intelligence operations, secret organizations, or geopolitical strategies. This type of research helps agencies understand how certain personalities think and how they might respond to complex situations. A person who consistently studies strategic power structures or investigates hidden networks may appear interesting from an analytical perspective because their curiosity aligns with subjects typically handled within intelligence environments. It is important to recognize that intelligence observation does not automatically mean active surveillance. In many cases, the information exists only as part of large databases where millions of names appear within different contexts. Analysts may never investigate a particular person directly unless their activities intersect with something that requires deeper attention. The presence of a name in a dataset often reflects patterns of information rather than a judgment about the person themselves. Public fascination with intelligence agencies often amplifies the idea that watch lists are mysterious tools used to secretly control or target individuals. In reality, much of intelligence work focuses on understanding complex systems rather than monitoring ordinary citizens. Agencies like the Central Intelligence Agency must analyze vast networks of information to identify potential threats, emerging movements, and individuals whose actions might affect global stability. The digital age has expanded the scale of these analytical systems dramatically. Every online discussion, research topic, and communication channel can contribute to a larger picture of how information moves through society. Individuals who frequently engage with sensitive subjects, unusual networks, or strategic discussions may appear within this analytical landscape simply because their activities intersect with areas that intelligence agencies are designed to study. The process often reflects the complexity of modern information analysis rather than the dramatic conspiracy scenarios that popular culture tends to imagine. Human beings have always been fascinated by the possibility of being watched. Not necessarily in the obvious sense of cameras or visible surveillance, but in the deeper psychological feeling that someone somewhere might be observing patterns in our lives. This idea becomes even more unsettling when people begin to question whether their actions, thoughts, or digital footprints could be quietly recorded and analyzed without their awareness. In the modern world, where communication research and social interaction take place online, the possibility of unseen observation feels more real than ever before. Every day, people leave traces of their lives across digital systems. Search histories, social media discussions, online purchases, location data, and communication patterns all create a trail of information. Most individuals never think twice about these digital footprints because they feel small and insignificant compared to the massive scale of the internet. However, when millions of pieces of information are collected together, they can reveal detailed patterns about behavior, interests, and personal beliefs. These patterns are often used by companies, researchers, and sometimes security organizations to understand how people think and interact. The unsettling question arises when someone begins to wonder whether their specific activities stand out in that sea of data. If a person frequently explores unusual topics, investigates hidden power structures, or spends a significant amount of time studying global intelligence systems, they may start to imagine that their curiosity has made them visible in ways they cannot see. This thought creates a powerful psychological tension because it challenges the comfortable belief that individual actions disappear into the anonymity of the internet. In reality, most digital monitoring systems focus on large patterns rather than specific individuals. Algorithms analyze trends across millions of users to understand how information spreads and which ideas gain influence. Yet the idea that certain behaviors could attract attention continues to intrigue people. Someone who repeatedly researches sensitive geopolitical issues, secret organizations, or intelligence strategies may feel as if they are stepping closer to areas where powerful institutions prefer to maintain control over information. The concept of observation becomes even more intense when combined with human imagination. Once a person begins to believe they might be watched, they start noticing small details that previously seemed meaningless. A strange advertisement that appears after researching a topic, an unexpected email, or a coincidental conversation about something they recently studied can suddenly feel like signs that their activity has been noticed. In many cases, these experiences are simply the result of algorithms designed to predict user interests, but the psychological impact can still feel mysterious. Throughout history, societies have used observation as a way to maintain stability and security. Governments monitor threats, companies track consumer behavior, and researchers analyze social trends. These systems exist primarily to manage complex societies, rather than to secretly follow individual citizens. Yet, when people begin to question whether they themselves might appear within these systems, the idea transforms from a distant concept into a personal mystery. Curiosity plays a large role in this feeling. Individuals who spend time exploring unconventional subjects often develop a deeper awareness of how power, information, and influence operate. They read about intelligence agencies, secret societies, psychological operations, and digital surveillance technologies. The more knowledge they gain, the more they realize how much observation exists in the modern world. This awareness can create the impression that stepping into certain areas of knowledge might bring attention from institutions designed to monitor those exact subjects. At the same time, there is another perspective that is often overlooked. Observation does not always mean suspicion or danger. In many systems, data is collected simply to understand behavior on a broad scale. A person researching unusual topics might simply appear as part of a larger pattern of curiosity shared by thousands of others around the world. The difference between being truly monitored and simply existing within massive data systems can be difficult to recognize from an individual point of view. The chilling part of the question is not necessarily whether someone is being watched, but whether they could ever truly know. Most observation systems operate quietly and invisibly, making it almost impossible for an individual to confirm or deny their presence within them. This uncertainty fuels the imagination, turning ordinary digital interactions into moments of speculation. A person might continue living their daily life while quietly wondering whether their curiosity, research, and ideas have placed them somewhere inside a system designed to study human behavior. That lingering uncertainty becomes powerful because it touches a deeper human instinct, the desire to understand who holds knowledge about our lives. When someone begins to question whether unseen observers might exist beyond their awareness, every search, conversation, and thought can start to feel like part of a much larger story, unfolding silently in the background of the modern world.